My name is Julia Orlando. I am the director of the Bergen County Housing, Health, and Human Services Center here in Hackensack. The center is the one-stop and a collaborative effort to prevent homelessness and address homelessness for all people here in the county. We provide meals, we provide shelter, and we provide access to permanent housing options.
Okay, please get a little bit more specific. Tell me how many people are housed here, what services do they get, including meals?
Okay. We have 90 shelter guests at any time. In the winter time, the colder months, we will go up to 105 people if necessary. We also provide meals to the community. Breakfast is only for shelter guests, but lunch and dinner are provided to the community. We do have a great number of people in the community who might be working poor and really benefit from having those services here at the center. People can come here to get a shower. They can come here to get their meals, to get their mail, to get really any services they're looking for, because we have a drop-in center during the day. And in the drop-in center, the person can come in, sometimes just to cool off. The heat's been so oppressive lately. They can come in, cool off, get some water. They can come in and talk to a counselor, be referred for benefits, or really whatever the person in need is looking for. This is a county-owned shelter. We're the only county-owned shelter in the state of New Jersey. Most other shelters receive funding from their counties, but they don't own the property. So they own this property. What they have done is they have done a shared services contract with the Housing Authority of Bergen County, which is my employer. We provide the management, the oversight, the clinical oversight, and also the facilities management of the property. Care Plus New Jersey has a contract to do the case management when folks go from the shelter into the community, and they provide that. And that contract is between Care Plus and the county. Christ Church, CCDC, is the recipient of the grant to run the shelter. So they have a direct contract with the county. Friendship House, which is a vocational rehabilitation program here in Hackensack, they provide the maintenance of the facility, and they also do the food serving, and they're under contract with us. So really what you have here is you have, and this is when I talk about a collaboration, it's really the collaboration of all of these entities that are working together, but they all are under the direction of the county. I am here to make sure that everyone's following their contracts and doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that we're working together. We have a similar goal.
And then your meals are prepared by the Bergen County Jail, correct?
Only breakfast and lunch. Dinner is provided by Family Promise, and Family Promise is churches, synagogues, mosques, and they come in every night and they provide meals here free of charge to the county.
Do they prepare them here, or they bring them in?
They bring them in here already prepared.
Okay.
Well, let's start with services. Anyone who is in need of services is welcome to come here. The whole design of this center is that anyone in need can come to one place, not have to be walking around the environs of Hackensack, to the Board of Social Services, to different places, Social Security, to get the assistance that they need. So the design is really that whatever the person needs, they can come to one place. So the public that's in need from the county are welcome to come in for meals, lunch and dinner. They're welcome to come in if they need a shower, if they need to wash their clothes, if they need to get their mail, they don't have an address, if they need information and referral services, and certainly they can apply for shelter. The criteria for shelter is that you need to be a Bergen County resident prior to homelessness. We do on occasion have people that do present themselves for shelter that are not from the county, and what we do under our licensure, we are licensed under DCA. They can stay for an emergency period, which may be up to 72 hours. And during that period, what we do is we help them get back to whatever their county or state of origin is.
Okay. Now, for the people who seek to stay here, you say the way you say is to have shelter here. Is there any background check? What rule is there, or what procedure do they have to go through?
Yes.
To stay here?
We do background checks with the person's permission. When they come in, they do sign clearance so that we can talk to other providers, and also to do a background check, just to make sure that there's nothing that the person may need that we're not aware of. There's not something that they need to be reporting to a probation officer or to some kind of mandated service. So we do need to have that kind of information. And also, most importantly, because it will affect how we get people housing. You know, if they may have something that's a little more complicated. Because the goal of the center, as far as homeless individuals, is to permanently rehouse individuals back into the community, not to keep them in shelter. And you had asked me about the idea of them living here. And we don't say that they're residents, we call them guests, because they're staying here temporarily. They're not going to be living here. So either they're community guests, meaning that they're just coming in for services, or they're shelter guests, meaning that they're staying temporarily in the shelter.
Is there a limit as to how long someone can stay?
We're licensed for 90 days. Some people are able to stay longer. It's dependent on whether or not there is a housing plan in sight. There's a clear way that we can get to that person getting to that housing site with a little more time. I approve all those extensions for a period of time till we can get that person to where they need. Some individuals, it takes longer. We have found that post-Sandy, there has been a lot of competition for apartments, for other units. And so it's been a little more challenging for us to find units for people because of the need has really grown.
So on average, how long does somebody stay here?
I would say the average is, well, 80 days is actually our average overall for the center.
Okay.
We stay around 80 days.
But really, it's unlimited
No, it's not unlimited. At some point, the person will have to be discharged. What you don't really want to do is discharge someone back into homelessness. That's certainly not good for Hackensack. It's not good for the individual. So whenever possible, we're looking to make a discharge. If they're not ready for housing, maybe the person needs a higher level of care, then they may be discharged to a hospital service or to, you know, a healthcare facility that can meet their needs better than we can.
Well, let's say in the last 2 years, what's the longest someone has stayed here?
In the last 2 years, we did have 2 women that stayed well over a year because they were our most challenging individuals. They really were the chronic homeless people that were living outside, really the folks that people are concerned about. And it took us a great amount of time to obtain documents, to get them to go to the doctor, to get disability certifications. And we learned a lot from that process, and we have streamlined it now. But we feel that it was a real accomplishment, even though it took us a little bit longer. Those are 2 women that are not out on the street. They're really too fragile to be out on the street, and they're certainly, their quality of life has really improved.
Now, when you say fragile, what were their issues?
They had mental health issues and substance abuse issues. And not only were they fragile in the sense of their own physical being, but those individuals are very costly to the community because they're often hospitalized for one of those issues or the other. They're not being treated. And now that those women are in stable housing, they have significantly reduced their trips to the hospital. So, you know, they're stable. And that's really the whole idea here, is to make sure that we believe that permanently housing an individual and then providing services to them really is the key to our success here.
Just going back to the background check issue, what percentage of the people actually go through a background check who stay here, and what would be cause for exclusion?
That's a good question. At one point or another, anyone staying here with us, meaning that they're in shelter, are going to have a background check. I really can't say that people are excluded from here from their background check, really, unless they're untruthful. If they've revealed something to us and we can manage whatever that concern is, then certainly we'll work with them. I think the key here is to understand that we do inreach with the jail. So the folks that come to us from the jail, we've already interviewed them and pre-selected them prior to them coming to us. I actually send staff over once a week to the Bergen County Jail and work with selected individuals that they know are going to be released into homelessness. And then we do our assessment and our referral, so we know that these are individuals that will do well here, that we can provide services for. If it's an individual that the jail feels would not be appropriate for us, if they feel that the violence history is too significant, that they would not be good in a community environment, they would not be referred to us.
Just so I understand, is everybody who's staying here now, is a referral from the Bergen County Jail, or
No.
just some?
Just some.
Oh, okay.
Our priority through the county is the individuals that are street homeless. That really has been our focus and our priority population since we opened in 2009, of which we've significantly decreased that population. So you're talking about your people that are sleeping outside, people that, you know, your traditional bag ladies, or people that, you know, the community sees as homeless. That's the group that's our priority population. And certainly individuals coming out of the Bergen County Jail, because what we really want to do is you want to prevent recidivism. You don't want people coming out of jail, going back to jail, in and out. So this collaboration between the Sheriff's Office, the Bergen County Jail, and us is really designed to make sure that when people come out, especially if they've gone through their DRC, which is their substance abuse program, that we can keep people on track, help them get jobs, help them get apartments, and get on with their lives.
So how much of a challenge is this, and how much, I've been out on the street a lot the last couple of weeks, and for example, according to the police department, out of the first 50 people they checked during their quality of life initiative in the month of June, 48 out of 49 had warrants.
Okay.
Or prior arrests, which is an enormous percentage.
Yes.
So how are you, and not only that, but I don't think there's one person who I went out to see out there who wasn't drinking alcohol.
Okay.
So what, as a matter of fact, there wasn't one. It was not even one, it was like 100% of the people I saw, whether it was under a bridge or by the river, there wasn't one that did not have alcohol or cigarettes, how do you, how much of a challenge is this to you, and is it even possible for you to address these issues of alcoholism and drug use and criminal history?
Okay.
And how much of it comes in here?
Right. Well, first of all, I don't know if all those individuals were homeless. And I also know that some people report that they're staying here and they're not staying here. Other people don't report that they're homeless. I think that's part of the difficulty here, is really knowing who is who. We do have individuals here with warrants. To be honest with you, they're usually warrants that are warrants for arrears. In other words, these are not serious issues. These are issues that they have with child support issues, parking tickets that are not paid, because they're homeless individuals, so they don't have the money to pay for fines. And predominantly, those are the warrants that we see here. We ask people in advance if they have warrants. What we try to do is get them to work with the police, work with the judges, really try to deal with those preventatively and make sure that they take care of those so that they don't get picked up on that warrant. That, to me, is an important piece. The other piece is expungement, and we've been working with one of the freeholders and also the One Stop with expungement, because what we're finding is people have done something minor in their past, but it's keeping them from getting jobs. And if people aren't able to get jobs, they're not able to move on, there's your recidivism again. So we really want to make sure that in addressing the criminality, even with the minor offenses, that we're proactive about that.
Okay. What do you do about keeping drugs and alcohol from coming in here?
Okay. When people come into the center, they are screened by security. So if they do have, if they were to have bottles on them, if they were to have any kind of illicit substances, security does check for that. If it's alcohol, we confiscate it, we talk to the person, and we certainly counsel them. One of the important things about the center is that people can come in if they have been drinking. We don't want them out in the street if they've been drinking. If they are not too inebriated, they can remain safely in the shelter, that's fine, and we talk to them about counseling. If they are too intoxicated, then they may be transported to the hospital, and then upon discharge, we work with people. We've been very successful at helping people get to sobriety, stay sober. For other individuals that's really a challenge for, we are a housing first model. Our goal is to house people. Some of the individuals that we've housed actually went into apartments, but they were still drinking. The thing that's important there is lots of people are in their apartments and they drink and they're fine and they're able to pay their rent. I think you're asking me if we're helping people to address their needs. Yes, we are. But first and foremost, our goal is to house people into the community. That's the most important thing that we're doing, is ending that chronic homelessness, ending that person from being on the street.
You say getting them into the community. Where is that? Here in Hackensack, or just it could be anywhere?
Anywhere in the county. People usually like to go back to where they grew up. And for some people, that's Hackensack. For some people, that's Lodi. We've moved people to Rivervale. We've moved people to Oradell. We've moved people back into the communities in which they came from. We find that they do best in those environments. They have natural support systems. And wherever possible, you want to help a person move to where they can. We're always faced with issues of affordability. You want to make sure that a person can afford where they're going. You want to make sure that you're working with a landlord that would understand that for some of these people, they may have poor credit. And that doesn't mean they're not going to be good tenants. It doesn't mean they're not going to, going forward, be able to pay their rent. But you certainly have to work with landlords, and we certainly have wonderful landlords that we work with in communities to help people do well.
Now, are we talking about subsidized housing, or how are they able to pay their rent? Because most of them don't have a job, right?
Well, I think we look at all our options here. Some of the people here have gone out in what's called shelter plus care vouchers. Shelter plus care vouchers are issued through HUD, and those are for persons with disabilities. And they come with case management assigned for 5 years. So really, what you're looking at is a person might go into the community with a subsidy. They would pay 30% of their income towards that voucher, and they would have case managers that would help them stay successfully in the community. Other folks have gone out, they've actually gotten jobs and afford their own apartments. It is a smaller percentage, but we have had people do that. We have had many people go out shared housing, meaning that if they both have unemployment or they both have some kind of Social Security assistance or RSDI if they're retired, they find if they can share the unit that it's a little more affordable. Some people do return back to family. Some people, as I said, might go to a higher level of care, to a facility. So really, across the board, it's a number of different ways, and we try to tailor whatever the best way is for that individual. Many of our individuals now are going out in what's called TRA, which is Temporary Rental Assistance through the Board of Social Services. And through that assistance, they will have market rate apartments for a period of time, maybe 12 to 18 months. So one of the things we're doing here at the center is for those individuals that are employable and will be going out on that kind of voucher, the One Stop has been sponsoring a program for us, which is called Teach for Life, and it's a 6-week program on site. It's 5 days a week, 6 hours a day, and those individuals are going through a training program so they can obtain a job and sustain it, do well, and so that when their assistance is done, 12 to 18 months, they'll be gainfully employed and they'll be able to stay in their apartments. That really is the goal here, is to kind of give people, a hand up, not a hand out, so that they can be successful back in the community.
But realistically, how many people can get a job that you deal with, and how many people actually want a job?
Well,
and the reason I ask this is because a couple of people have spoken to, and one I have on camera says he doesn't want to work, too many rules. He doesn't want to come here. There are too many rules to follow. So, there's a reason I asked that question. How many people actually want a job, and how many people can actually get a job, realistically?
Actually, many of our folks here do want a job, and some of those folks have disabilities, some of those folks don't have disabilities. I think people are discouraged at times. I think the longer that you've gone without a job, the longer you've been here in the system, it's discouraging for people. What I have seen is when they start this job training program that we have here, within 2 days, they're like different people. They're optimistic, they get up early in the morning, they're doing homework at night, they're actually ready to go out there and get jobs. So far, with the 2 graduating classes we've had, of the first group, which was 6 people, 2 people got jobs so far, and of this group, which they just graduated last week, 2 additional individuals have gotten jobs. So I think that's out of 8 people. So I think those are very good success rates for us. And we're continuing with those other individuals to find them work. But this is a collaboration. You have to remember, you have the One Stop working with us, you have the WIB, the Workforce Investment Board, and you really have people that are working with individuals to help them stay optimistic, to stay focused, to encourage them to improve their skills so that they can work competitively in the work environment.